Hey everyone, First T here. Thanks for checking out this YouTube channel.
We are joined by four-time PGA champion Tiger Woods. Tiger closed with a final round 67 today. Finished at 1 under for the championship. Better play today, Tiger. More indicative of how you opened the championship on Thursday.
Yeah, I felt I drove it kind of like I did on Friday, and irons were a little bit more crisp, and I hit better putts, and I made a few early on, and just kind of kept the momentum going. It's something I hadn't done the last 2 days, and ended up with an under par tournament score, which yesterday I was saying that's what I wanted to do, and I made it happen today.
Good. All right, let's go to Steve. Start with number 2.
Tiger, what did you get out of this week, and what's encouraging as you go forward?
Well, I think what I got out of this week is that I felt I was competitive. If I would have made a few more putts on Friday early on, and same thing with Saturday, I felt like I would have been right there with a chance come today. Didn't happen, but I fought hard, and today was more indicative of how I could have played on Friday and Saturday if I would have made a few putts early.
Let's go 3, Dan.
Yeah, you mentioned that you could have played. Is it at all frustrating knowing that there was a round like this kind of waiting the whole week?
That's golf. We lose way more tournaments than we win, and this is one of those weeks where I didn't quite make the putts when I needed to, and I missed a couple shots on the wrong side. But overall, I think I had one 3-putt for the week, and I had no doubles, and that's always something that you want to do going in, throughout the 72 holes of a major championship. And unfortunately, I didn't make enough birdies, and I'm not there with a chance come this afternoon.
Let's go to Jeff on 1.
Tiger, your overall assessment of how Harding Park played this week, and what do you foresee happening this afternoon?
Well, it's definitely more gettable today. The greens aren't anywhere near as dried out as they were yesterday. The wind's not blowing the balls on the greens. Of course, it's playing a little bit longer. It is cool out there. Into the wind, the ball's not going very far. There are some difficult pins, but also some really receptive pins. I think that you're going to see more scores, today in the 60s as overall field than you did yesterday for sure. But this afternoon's different. They got a chance to win a major championship. Part of the biggest difference is you're not going to have the energy of the crowds and all the noise and the distractions that you normally would have. So that's going to be a little bit different for some of the guys who have been there. For some of the guys who haven't been there, I think that's advantageous.
Let's move on to Rex on 4.
Tiger, beyond your game, this was going to be a physically demanding week for everyone because it's cold and it's damp and everything that goes into that. How encouraging was that for you to make it through, as you said, competitive for 4 rounds?
Yeah, I kept layering up. Make sure that I stayed on the warm side, if anything, and try to make sure I stayed, if anything, sweaty. They kept loose. Overall, the body, reacted, pretty good. The best thing to do is stay out of the rough, and don't have any of those jarring shots. And if I could have done that like I did on Friday, the entire week and made a few putts, and that might have been a different story.
All right, Bob on 5, please.
Tiger, depending on what you decide to do, you're now maybe looking at playing consecutive weeks, maybe even 3 if you do well enough. What's the challenge of that? It's been a while. Maybe, I guess, the President's Cup would have been the last time you did that. I mean, just having to try to do it multiple weeks.
Well, that's potentially what could happen, and we've been training for that. Trying to get my strength and endurance, up to that ability to making sure I can handle that type of workload. We knew that once I started playing again, when I committed to Memorial, that this was going to be a heavy workload, and my training sessions, we've been pushing it pretty hard, making sure that I kept my strength and endurance up, and this week off will be no different. We'll be pushing it hard to make sure that I can stay strong and have the endurance to keep on going.
Did you skip last week because you were concerned about trying to do back-to-back, or was it more looking at the big picture of all these tournaments coming up?
Well, I think it's looking at what I needed to do to be ready for this week, and with it being potentially near 100 last week. I've never played there, so having to have to learn that golf course, learn and then come here and learn another golf course. Some of the guys that did play last week were a little fried. Come Wednesday, with their practice rounds, some of them didn't even play this practice. They were worn out from playing last week and then playing practice rounds and having learned this golf course, mentally fried. So I knew that could be a potentiality for me if I did that. Made sure that I stayed fresh and I was ready to go, and I was pretty sharp the entire week and just didn't hit the putts hard enough on a couple of days, and that was the difference.
Let's zoom out to Doug. Doug, you're up.
Tiger, speaking of no fans, I'm just curious. So you're one group ahead of Ben on. I'm just curious. On 12, he makes a hole in one on 11. Were you anywhere near that? Any idea what was going on? And if you were, was that just the weirdest thing ever?
Well, I was. Joey told me he made it after I hit my tee shot. The other three guys in my group, Tom and HD and Joey, they heard a scorer yell. I didn't. I was grinding on my tee shot, trying to make sure I turned that thing over and didn't hit it in the right rough. And after I hit my tee shot, Joey said, "Yeah, it landed 3 feet in front of the hole and rolled in like a putt." So I didn't know, and we had that hold up because Jim lost the ball there at 16. So we got a chance to say congratulations to Ben, and he owes around to all of us.
Okay, going to zoom out to Adam here. You're up.
Tiger is one of the few people who have had a chance to try for a three-peat at a major at the PGA. Can you put into perspective how difficult that is, and what is it about Brooks Koepka that most impresses you?
Well, I think that the hard part is the expectations going into the week, the number of distractions that you have to try and prepare. This week's different. We don't have as many obligations, and it's a little bit easier to prepare for the week. I've had a couple different times. What makes this championship and as well as the other two opens hard to win, multiple years in a row is that we're at different venues. You have to learn. He's had to learn 3 new sites, and so that makes it more challenging and more difficult. You can't just rely on memory. You have to make sure you do your homework on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then be fresh somehow. Come the rest of the week. So it's a challenge.
Okay, a couple more and we'll wrap it up. Mark on 3.
Yeah, Tiger, just spinning off a little bit what Bob was talking about with the more activity potentially coming up. Mm-hmm. Do you have a feel, after going through this week, how much that will be advantageous to you as you get toward Winged Foot to the next major, obviously, which is what you're gearing toward?
Well, after the Tour Championship, we have a couple weeks off, and so that'll be a nice break for all the guys who've played their way through the playoffs and through this grind of World Golf Championship, a major, then a playoff run. It'll be a welcome couple weeks, but most of the guys have been gearing up and training hard, making sure their bodies are good. A few of the guys are banged up out there, but that's just the way it goes, and we've got to manage those things and get through. It's a long grind, and playing well at the right times. It's all about timing when you get to the Tour Championship, and so the playoffs is a different structure. So we'll see what happens.
I just kind of meant for you, you're going to have had a lot more reps than you had coming into to this week, obviously, which wasn't ideal, but that's just the way it played out for you. For you personally, even though there's a break after the Tour Championship, to have some more reps, hoping that you're staying healthy between now and then, how much better can you be, do you think, at Winged Foot? And how much more sharper, whether it's the putting and all the stuff
that's a unknown, just because of the fact that we've never had a schedule like this before. I mean, no one's ever experienced this. Having a shutdown during a year, no one's played competitively, trying to figure out how we're going to deal with the restrictions, the policies that are on board, the adjustments that we've made as the tours come back. It is very different. This is unlike any other year that we've ever experienced in golf. So a lot of unknowns, and it's very different. I know that we have a couple weeks off, and as I said, a lot of the guys are looking forward to those couple weeks to get ready for Winged Foot.
All right, wrap it up here with Bob.
Tiger, does the putter earn another start? And is it really more about the length of it than it is the actual putter itself?
Well, the length, as I said earlier, it allows me to practice. Bending over for long periods of time is not easy on the back, as most golfers can attest to. And that I haven't spent as much time over the course of my last 5 to 7 years, putting, because I just can't stand over the putts that long, or can't stand over bent over for that long. So that's one of the reasons why some of the guys went to, at the time when it was legal, to go to belly putters. You don't have to bend over as far. Look at most of the putters now. The guys are arm locking, going a little different lengths, different size grips. The guys aren't as hunched over as they all were, even 30, 40 years ago. It's different, and it allows me to practice. But I still will always, putt with that. I also always putt with an 8802. I love a heel shafted putter and feeling that toe release, and so those are things that I've always done. So that won't change. And what makes a starting lineup, who knows? But I know that putting at home, and I do putt. I've done it, as I said, since my childhood, putting with a sandwich, and it is a lot longer than my putter. And I putter with that thing pretty much my entire life.